welcome everyone. Everybody is coming on in to the second annual Inglewood Town Hall meeting, but the first Inglewood Town Hall virtual meeting. And so we are excited and overjoyed that each of you have carved out time to join us this evening in the midst of the snow, but it is indicative of who Inglewood is. We persevere and we rise above. And so I am excited to be with you all tonight. My name is Derek Warren. I am the moderator this evening. I'm the Executive Director of Greater Englewood Community Development Corporation, and I am excited to have you all here. I know that more are coming in. We had over 300 individuals to register. We are also live on different mediums. And so we are going to have a wonderful conversation and meeting tonight. And so I am truly grateful for each of you. And so as you all come on in, we want to respect everyone's time. And so I want to ensure that we start on time. But in our starting, we want to start correctly. And so as an old church, a young church boy from the south side of Chicago, I understand that you always start off with prayer. And so we will at this time have Bishop Designate Pastor Brown to open up with prayer. Bishop Brown, we are at your disposal.
All right, thank you, Derek. God bless you all. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this time of sharing. We bless you and we honor you. For this is still the day that you made. We continue to be glad and rejoice in it. Father, I pray that you cover us tonight, cover our meeting tonight. I pray you cover our moderator tonight. I pray you allow him to moderate effectively and efficiently on tonight. I pray you cover every alderman, every commissioner, God. We lift every last one of them up. We lift up the entire Inglewood community unto you, oh God. We lift up the city of Chicago, oh Lord. And Father, I pray that every leader that is represented, every panelist, oh God, every resident, every gatekeeper, everyone that's on this line, oh Lord, that you bless them in this time. I pray for unity on this line, oh God. You said where there is unity, there is strength. And so, Father, we need you to cover us, oh God. I pray, oh Lord, even you cover all of our leaders, cover our nation, God, even our new leaders that are set in place, oh God. I pray you cover our mayor. I pray you cover all of our aldermen, God, and let them continue to lead with precision and clarity, oh God. Even as investments will be talked about, safety, infrastructure, I pray you bless it all, oh God, in the mighty name of Jesus. And Father, I thank you for this time of sharing. Father, we come boldly to your throne of grace, interceding for Inglewood, city of Chicago, the entire state of Illinois, the city of Chicago. And Lord, I pray, just let your arms be around us in this time, oh God. We love you. We honor you. Thank you for allowing us to share together and be together on tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen and amen. Pastor Brown, thank you so much, sir.
God bless you. Thank you.
Well, brothers and sisters, as we continue to gather in, I'm reflecting on this evening, and I'm reflecting on the African-American attorney, Bryan Stevenson, founder of the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. He wrote about how his grandmother always reminded him to keep close. Bryan, she would say, keep close now. What did she mean by keep close? Well, you see, Bryan's grandmother's parents were slaves, and it was imperative for slaves to keep close. A slave's survival was dependent upon keeping close, keeping connected, keeping compassion for each other in order to survive the evils of chattel slavery. Fast forward today, what does keep close mean for us today in the Inglewood community? Some of you may remember that just less than 60 years ago, 63rd and Halsted was a beehive of commercial activity that drew thousands of shoppers to businesses right here in the Inglewood community. But unfortunately, due to disinvestment, white flight, redlining, as well as systemic racism, many jobs and businesses like Sears Roebuck's, Hillman's, Webolt's did not heed to Bryan Stevenson's grandmother's admonishment to keep close. but instead they fled Englewood, leaving Englewood in a declining state. But my brothers and sisters, as Amanda Gorman, the youngest inaugural poet in US history, recently declared, there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Thankfully, there have been many Englewood superstars, some that have made their transition to glory that were brave enough to still see the light in Englewood. And we have new Englewood leaders that have took the helm that are brave enough to be the light in Englewood, brave enough not to flee, but to lead Englewood into a brighter future. Men and women who decided to keep close to the Englewood community. There is a ray of light of men and women in Englewood right now who are keeping close to resurrect hope, love, and the joy of Englewood. So to all of you that carve time out of your busy schedules to be with us this evening, to all of the Englewood community stakeholders, residents, students, educators, business owners, pastors, politicians, youth, seniors, to all our servants of Englewood, far too numerous to name, those who have and continue to carry the torch, to work tirelessly, to keep close and serve Englewood. Not only do I welcome you this evening, but we thank you. Thank you for your unheralded service and sacrifice, for being and becoming light in Englewood. Thank you for not turning your back on Englewood. Thank you for keeping close to Englewood and being instruments of transformation to help ensure that Englewood continues to rise. Well, we have an awesome agenda this evening. Tonight, we have a few special guests that are keeping close that you will hear from tonight. We have 7th District Commander Rodney Hill. We have the City of Chicago Department of Transportation Commissioner Gia Biaggi. We have an investor, a representative from Invest Southwest, Luke Mitch. But that's not all, everybody. We have the Inglewood Five in the house. The Inglewood Five who are committed to being light and keeping close to Inglewood. Well, you may say, well, Derek, who are the Inglewood Five? Well, let me tell you who the Inglewood Five are. Our organizer for this auspicious event, the Alderman of the 16th Ward, Stephanie D. Coleman, is in the house. Alderwoman of the 20th Ward, Jeanette Taylor, is in the house. Alderman of the 15th Ward, Raymond Lopez, is in the house. Alderman of the 17th Ward, David Moore, is in the house. And last but not least, Alderman of the 6th Ward, Roderick Sawyer, is in the house. Can you all do me a favor? Hit your reaction button and show our speakers and our Inglewood Five. Give us a thumbs up and applause and show us some Inglewood love. I see those hands. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we're going to have a little housekeeping and then we're going to get started. So everyone, as you can see, is going to remain muted. Once we get to the question and answer portion, we will only recognize, just to ensure that we keep the integrity of the town hall meeting and to ensure that everyone is heard, because there's so many people on the call, we're going to only recognize raised hands. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, there is an option for raised hands on your Zoom toolbar. Once you hit that, you will be recognized, you will be unmuted. I will then allow you to speak, and you will get time for one question. One question. Once you ask your question, you will be muted, and then we will move on. Okay? So.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do we have any people who called in? And if so, what's the function or who's monitoring them to ask any questions?
Thank you, Alderman Moore. Not only did we have people who called in, we had individuals who previously sent questions via email. And so we have those questions in our hands. And so we will generate answers and pose those questions tonight as well. But we're trying to ensure that we stop at 8 o'clock. So those questions that were not answered, we will have a follow-up to ensure that those questions get answered at a later time, sir. Okay. Outstanding. So at this time, we want to hear from the Inglewood Five. So Inglewood Five, you each will have 3 minutes for your opening remarks. After the conclusion of the Inglewood Five, I will be back to introduce our 3 speakers. So first on our list, who will kick us off, is the Alderman of the 16th Ward, Stephanie D. Coleman. After Stephanie D. Coleman, we will have Alderwoman Taylor. After Alderwoman Taylor, Alderman Moore, Alderman Lopez, and that will wrap us up, Alderman Sawyer, in that order. Alderman Coleman, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Director Warren. And the 16th Ward is definitely in the house, literally in the house. I couldn't think of a better time as now to my 4 colleagues who make up the Inglewood Five. The band is back together again. We were together this time last year, unbeknownst to us that a pandemic was going to be right around the corner. But one thing about Inglewood, a pandemic wouldn't stop us from fighting for our community. So to Alderwoman, my older sister Jeanette Taylor, to Alderman David Moore, Alderman Raymond Lopez, and to the seasoned, our seasoned DOG, Alderman Roderick Sawyer, thank you for being examples. And 2020 has taught us to unify. And if not now, then when? If not who, then us. If not us, then who? So thank you all. To all of the 200 plus participants, God bless you all. Inglewood, we are resilient. This is what we do. We come together and we let nothing stop us. So thank God for Zoom and thank God for capabilities and Director Warren and Hugo. Thank you all for the back work that you have done in our staffs. In this pandemic, and we know about COVID-19, but there's also another pandemic that's affecting our communities, and we all know what that is. But anytime one of us, an Inglewood resident, is carjacked and held at gunpoint on Christmas morning, we know that it is time for us to come together and find some solutions as it relates to public safety. And you all, this is a state of emergency. Not one, crime has no place in Inglewood, no place in the 6th, 15th, 17th, 16th, or 20th Ward. Thank you all for joining us as we discuss public safety, investment, and infrastructure as we are rising together. Asia Butler and Rage has a campaign. Inglewood is rising, and the only way we'll rise is together. So God bless you all. Thank you for being here, and let's work on some solutions, because you know that it's all good in Inglewood. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alderman Coleman. Alderwoman Taylor, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Warner. I appreciate you. Good evening, Inglewood. Thank you all for joining us on this call tonight. I would have to echo my older sister, Alderwoman Coleman, to say that one of the things that I'm very proud of is during this global pandemic, Inglewood has wrapped its arms around each other and have really stood the test of time and helped out their neighbors. And so from the riots on to the peaceful marches, what I saw is a community that gets together and does what it needs to do. And that's not shocking to me, because when you really know what Inglewood stands for and what it is, you know that Inglewood does what it's supposed to do. Unfortunately, folks around the city doesn't see Inglewood as the gym that it actually is. And so I'm appreciative to have 4 other co-workers who are willing to work together to get this right. And so tonight, while we all will, some of us have presentations, we also are open to listening. Know that you got 5 people who are open, 5 people who are willing to work together, and 5 people who don't have all the answers. But what I said to folks when I ran, and I'm sure this goes for the other 4 aldermen, you all got to go to City Hall with us. And so there are some things that we can do, but we're a stronger force when we're together. I look forward to this conversation tonight, and I'm grateful that you all are on.
Thank you, ma'am. Alderman Moore.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you, Derek, for moderating this. I want to thank my colleagues who were already announced for being such great partners here in the Inglewood community, as well as our Commissioner of CDOT, Gia Biaggi, who always has an open ear to listen and try to make things better. So I thank her for being on this call and for coming out. And also my good friend, our new commander of the 7th District, Rod Hill, another WIU alum. I'm just so excited to have him on here. And we always brag about the things that WIU students have done. We have the Chicago FBI head here in Chicago is from WIU. Our leader in the Senate is from WIU. And so WIU is doing some great stuff. So welcome, Commander Rod Hill. I just want to say last week, which was led by Englewood Alderman, I would always say, but the Black Caucus, and you won't read it a lot if a lot of people don't read Cranes or anything, but for the first time in history, a $56 million project at O'Hare Airport cargo facility is being built by African-American lead in the nation, not in the city of Chicago, in the nation. David, why are you saying that? Because people let some crucial things slip by. And this was works of aldermen from Englewood that helped get this done. And what does that mean? That means that we can hire people from Englewood at these places when we get people that look like us, the lead on these projects and hiring people from our community. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about tying all that in as we deal with infrastructure, as we deal with development, which we'll talk about from planning and development and how that impacts with safety. You'll hear me say a clean community is a safe community, is a working community. If you keep your community clean, it tends to be safe. If it's safe, then you have developers coming in, and then we can put people to work, and that gives you your working community. And so this time is for you all. Definitely address our commander, ask intelligent questions. It's not an opportunity to attack. Definitely address our Commissioner of Infrastructure. Again, not an opportunity to attack, but to move forward, to get some questions answered, and to get your ideas heard. So I look forward to hearing from all of the residents of Englewood. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alderman. Alderman Lopez, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Derek, and good evening, Englewood, and good evening to all of my colleagues. I'm Raymond Lopez, Alderman of the 15th Ward. I represent the western edge of greater Englewood community. What a difference a year makes. We were so excited to be working on some of the issues that we talked about in our last town hall until the pandemic put everything to the sidelines. I know it has been a challenging year for many of us. I am glad that my doors have remained open, and we have worked together with my colleagues to address many of the issues that our residents faced throughout the last 11 months when COVID, civil unrest, uncertainty, and at times despair were knocking at our front door. In the 15th Ward, we've been able to proactively identify nearly 5,000 city services, trying to ensure that we keep the semblance of a functional neighborhood alive and well in everyone's backyard, front doorsteps, keeping those lights on, those potholes filled, those streets in repair. We are committed to ensuring that as we move forward, that we remain a neighborhood that works, a ward that works for you, our residents, who are at the heart of everything that we do. And as we're here gathered tonight, I look forward to hearing what you would like us to focus on moving forward. You know, this pandemic exposed a lot of the cracks, a lot of the weaknesses in what we assumed was a great city government. We saw where sometimes departments had cracks that we never anticipated because we've never lived through a pandemic. I look forward to working with my colleagues, working with you to ensure that we become more resilient, stronger, and better after this. Englewood can lead the way. Englewood has always led the way, in my opinion, and we will continue to do that as we continue this conversation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Alderman Sawyer.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it, Brother Warren. Thank you for moderating today. And as the senior member of the Inglewood Five, I guess that would make me Jackie to Stephanie's Michael. But I would like to say that in all due seriousness, this has been a group that's been a delight to work with. All right, Tito. This has been a group that's been a delight to work with. We've been collaborating together. Even during the pandemic, we always talk about what's best for Englewood. And, I've been in various iterations of these groups in the past, but never have I been involved with such a great working relationship to improve the lot of lives in Englewood. And I must say, it's not just the Inglewood Five, but it's you, the people that are on this call, on this Zoom today. Never have I seen organizations, and I've seen a lot of organizations in my life, have been so cohesive and so together. It's not about one ward, it's about the entirety of a community that wants to see it going forward. And I appreciate that. And working with you guys has just been an extreme pleasure. We were hoping that before the pandemic, we would be doing these quarterly, but obviously, what happened is what was happened. So, but we want to make sure that we have been continually working for you. We collaborate on a regular basis. We talk about things that benefit the community collectively. And now we're here virtually, but here to hear what you have to say and also present some of the city services that you request. And we want to bring them here before you. Today it's public safety and infrastructure. But we want you to hear what they tell us when you ask us questions. So please engage them, make sure that we get your request, and most importantly, listen with an open mind, because these individuals here today have a lot to say. They have a lot of knowledge, and they really do care about the city of Chicago. We just have to make sure we get them the right information. And sometimes we have to press a little bit harder to get what we deserve. So Inglewoodians, please take heed and govern yourselves accordingly. Thank you.
Alderman Sawyer, thank you, sir. I love that word, Inglewoodians. I'm gonna pocket that one. Inglewood Five, thank you all so much. So what I hear from these opening statements, words like unity, listening, safety, being advocates, being connected, staying close. Thank you, Inglewood Five, for those opening remarks. And we know that will be an impetus for us tonight as we move on with the agenda. Thank you so much to each of you. Next, I would like to introduce our speakers for this evening. Commander of the 7th District, Rodney G. Hill, a 29-year member of the department. Commander Hill most recently served as a lieutenant in the 2nd District. He previously served as a lieutenant in the 3rd District. Hill served as a sergeant in Area 1 Robbery, Burglary, and Theft Section, Homicide, Gang, and Sex Crime Section, and the Mission Team. Also as a sergeant, he served as the Education and Training Division, Vice Section, and in the 3rd District. Commissioner Gia Biaggi is an urban planner and designer with experience in the private and public sectors, who was appointed commissioner of the Chicago Department of Transportation by Mayor Lori E. Lightfoot in December 2019. The mayor charged Biaggi with implementing a vision for a transportation system that prioritizes equity and mobility and works to lower the economic and environmental burden of transportation on residents and communities, especially for people in poverty and people with disabilities. And last but not least, Luke Mitch, who's new to Chicago, who will be representing the Department of Planning and Development and the Invest Southwest program initiative sponsored by our Mayor Lightfoot. Commander Hill, the floor is all yours, sir.
First, let me begin by saying good evening to everyone, and I'm proud and honored to be a member of the panel. I'm inspired to be a part of the Inglewood family now, and as the commander of a great district, I'm taking the place of, I've replaced a great commander or great deputy chief in Larry Snelling, who's moved on to better things or bigger things with the Chicago Police Department. I'd like to thank Alderman Moore for his kind words. And yes, I am a WIU alum. I'm proud to say that. In the immortal words of our moderator, Derek Warren, we're going to keep close. And I can honestly say in the 5 weeks that I've been the commander of Inglewood, I've come to know not only David Moore, Alderman Moore, but Alderman Taylor, Alderman Coleman, Alderman Sawyer, as well as Alderman Lopez. And I must say they have some great things for the Inglewood community, and they're dedicated to do that, and so am I. What sticks out in my mind more than anything as the commander of Inglewood is family, faith, education, unity, and community. Those are things that keep jumping out whenever I meet with different people in the community. Inglewood is a mecca for great community organizations and groups of people that really want to see change in the Inglewood area. The president of Kennedy King College I met with the other day, he sees Kennedy King as the beacon for the South Side with education. Education is definitely something that's important to myself and my family. And I think that's what will make the difference in our communities. Alderman Coleman mentioned some things about safety and the vehicular hijackings that are going on, and I'll go into detail a little bit about that and how it affects all of us. It's something that I'm concerned about. It's something that I'm concerned about not only as a police commander, but as a citizen of the city of Chicago. And I honestly think it's something that we can combat. It's nothing that we can't overcome as Inglewoodians, as the good alderman said. I'm going to coin that phrase as well. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the family and pushing Inglewood into the future. Thank you.
Commander Hill, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your words and your commitment and for keeping close. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Biaggi.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you, Moderator Warren, and to all the aldermen. And I want everyone on the call to know that your Inglewood Five are working hard and keeping feet like mine to the fire to make sure that your community gets what you want and gets what you need out of infrastructure. If I may share my screen and go into a presentation, if that's okay, Moderator Warren? Okay, I'll share my screen. Perfect. Okay, can folks see my screen?
We're good, Commissioner.
Yes.
Thumbs up, thank you. Okay, so as we mentioned, I oversee the Chicago Department of Transportation, and that's everything from, your first step out your front door onto your sidewalk to crossing streets to bike share. It's all kinds of things across the city. And in fact, it's a lot of infrastructure. Across the city, we have, 4,000 miles of streets, 300,000 streetlights, 300 miles of bikeways, more bridges than you can imagine across the city, and 43 movable ones. So it's a lot of infrastructure that we manage. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do and then get into the capital investment strategy that I've been graciously invited to be here to talk about and to hear from you. So a couple things that we do. We work on mobility and transit. So this is all about how do we help you get from where you are to the meaningful destinations in your life. That might be a grocery store, that might be church, that might be school, that might be work. But part of our job is to manage that tabletop of streets and roadways. We work really closely with the Chicago Transit Authority. Of course, they're sort of the pieces on that tabletop that move around, and it's our job to support them. We also run things like our city's bike share program and a couple of other things. Another important thing that we do that relates to infrastructure is we do planning, design, and engineering. So that's everything from figuring out how to make it as safe as possible for you to walk around in your neighborhood, to balancing cars and bikes and other things, but also to help design great streets, right? To make it the kind of investment that really connects the dots between things that are going on, all the positive things in the neighborhood. We also build. We do a lot of construction. That's everything from work we do in-house. And by that, I mean we have CDOT employees. Overall, we have 1,300 of them. CDOT employees that are filling the potholes, that are fixing the signs, that are fixing the lights. And then we also have contracts that we use contractors to do some of that work, like repaving streets and some of the bigger projects. And then really important, it's our job to be good stewards and maintain all of that infrastructure. And so whether that's planting trees where they need to be, that's fixing up viaducts and painting and getting those signs hung, that's all things that we're responsible for. And then last, I think the big category of thing that we do is also we manage that set of streets and sidewalks. And that means when you have utilities who need to dig in the ground or the water department is doing work, part of our role is to try to get everybody on the same page so we're not tripping over each other and that we can get it right in the sequencing of work and make it as headache-free as possible when we're doing construction or anybody's doing construction in the public way. And then we do street activations. And so we were a big part of the partnership to deliver outdoor dining in neighborhoods during COVID. And so that was a chance to use vacant lots or streets or sidewalks to give restaurants a chance to have folks come and dine in a safe COVID-free way. And then also with our shared streets program, that was when communities, when we connected with them and they raised their hand and wanted to try out closing streets for just walking and biking and local traffic, we do that too. So I just wanted to set that up to give you a sense. There's a lot of things that we touch. We have a lot of responsibility out there. And so talking about capital funding, and so when I say capital funding, I mean those big projects that fix all of that infrastructure. And this graph is just showing you that in the blue bars, that's what we're typically doing every year on average in terms of, for example, the street resurfacing. But in the orange bar is what we need to be doing. That's what we should be spending just to get to a critical floor on what needs to happen. So you look at things like street lights. We should be spending a lot more money on upgrading those. You look at bridge improvements. We should be doing a lot more to fix our bridges, traffic signals, and then even city facilities and city fleet. There's a lot of work to do. And so when you add all that up, just the critical high priority stuff that we need to get done, we have about a $4.5 billion need. And this pie chart just shows you where most of that is. A lot of bridges, a lot of street resurfacing, traffic signals, and lighting. So in response, what City Council has helped to approve and what we're working on right now is a huge investment toward that need. So we've outlined about a $3.7 billion plan to invest in all of that stuff I just described, streets and sidewalks and all ramps and everything that you step on and walk around in our city. And I think the headline in the middle that says it's about time just about captures that right. So what's in that plan? So we have approval for a piece of that $3.7 billion. It's 1.4 that we have approval from council to begin working on for the first 2 years of what we hope to be a 5-year program. It's a needs-based program, so we're looking across the whole city and looking at worst first in terms of condition, but we're also very equity focused in that we need to pay attention to what's going on with economic development. How can we be helpful? How can we prioritize a project that can be really meaningful in neighborhoods, especially like Englewood? And also modernization, that's another key piece here, which we have a lot of infrastructure. It's just old. It just needs to get fixed. Our traffic signals need to be ready for the future. Right now, they don't talk to anybody. They need to talk to autonomous vehicles and that kind of thing in the future. So this is just a list of the project types, and it looks like just the list I was talking about of what we manage. We want to touch everything from WPA streets to ADA ramps and sidewalks, streetscapes, which are total reconstructions of a major street where you have a lot of shops and stores, really going from storefront to storefront, fixing that, and then a lot of pedestrian safety improvements that we want to do, finishing a street lighting program, all these kinds of things. So how do we decide what projects to do? I think I would wonder that question myself. And so these are some of the factors that we look at. We looked at condition. For example, our pavement condition. So this summer, we drove every single street in the city and compared all the street sections to each other and developed what we call a pavement condition index. That tells us which ones are in the most need. We do that for a lot of our infrastructure, but we also look at things like 311 service requests. When you call 311 or you use the app, that means something. Not only do we get it as a service request, but then we go back and say, you know what? We've had to fill potholes 25 times on this street. It's time we redo the street. So that's a really important way to tell us what's going on. And then coordination with initiatives like Invest South and West, finding other funds. But I think really primary is listening well to community groups and individuals in neighborhoods, and particularly aldermen and city council. That really helps us to understand what's going on. And in fact, right now we're in conversations with every ward about possibilities for projects in their ward through something called menu funds, which is part of the capital plan. I'm wrapping it up here just to say, this is examples. I just wanted to share, like when I say we looked at all the streets, we really did, and color coded them all where we can compare one to the other and look for clusters where we can get a lot done. I think there are other things like what we call Vision Zero, which is trying to prevent traffic fatalities. This is work that we had done on the west side around where you have high crash corridors, where you have observed dangerous driving, and where fatalities occur, and then where residents are saying, this is where you should make an improvement. This will drive some of our work on the west side, and we are to begin this quarter, once we get our team together, a South Side Vision Zero plan that will work, that will include Englewood. So I wrap it up to say, what's happening now on the program? We're identifying projects. We're briefing aldermen on menu, and we'll be coming back to your aldermen once we have some sense of what those projects will be. We're getting ready. We need to do hiring. We need to get contracts in place, and then we need to measure what we're doing here to make sure we're hitting those equity benchmarks. Last, what's happening next is finishing the project selection, all that design and engineering, contract and job opportunities. That's something we're working closely with our sister departments in procurement and hiring on. And then we're hoping to have something like a construction summit to really get the word out, make it possible for as many Chicagoans as possible to work on these projects, to be part of either the companies or of our own workforce to get the work done. So I'll finish with saying there are lots of ways to stay engaged. Number one, coming to town halls like this, engaging with your aldermen. We've got a couple links that I'll send out where you can find out about job opportunities and contracts, and then even updates on what's going on your street. So I'll stop there. I know it took a lot of time, but there was a lot to say, and I really appreciate being here tonight, and I'm looking forward to answering questions.
Commissioner Biaggi, thank you so much for your detailed presentation regarding projects and project selections and job opportunities. We really appreciate your sharing of such pertinent information. Before I bring Luke on, I just want to address another housekeeping issue, just to reiterate. So I'm seeing about 25 questions in the Q&A, but just to reiterate, we are going to recognize those who hit the raise hand function on your lower level of your toolbar. So if those who have questions, if you could please just click on that raise hand, I will see your hand. And then I will ensure that I acknowledge you. We will unmute you at the time of the open session question and answer so that you can ask your question. So please, those who type in a question. If you could please hit the raise hand function at the lower level of your toolbar, and so that we can ensure that we have your questions asked and answered. And also for those who actually dialed in via telephone, if you joined the webinar by phone, if you dialed *9, you can raise your hand. You won't be able to lower it, but *9 will enable you to raise your hand. Thank you so much. So with that said, Luke, the floor is yours, sir.
Great. Thank you so much, Derek. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke Mish, a planner with the Department of Planning and Development. I'm joined here today by our Deputy Commissioner of Neighborhood Planning, Jim Harbin, who's also on the line. And together we send the regrets of Commissioner Cox, the Department of Planning and Development Commissioner, who unfortunately was unable to join us today. As Derek mentioned in the introductions, I am new to the city, both as an employee and as a resident. And so I actually started just before the pandemic. So not the best time to get to know a new area, but I am excited to be part of the Invest Southwest team. I am the Invest Southwest lead for Inglewood. And so I've been learning a lot from many of the folks on this call as we've undertaken the last just about year or so of Invest Southwest.
Sorry, I'm on a call.
So I do just want to jump right in. I've got some slides to share here to just give everyone a quick review of Invest Southwest and where we are in that process. So I will bring up that slide deck here. Great. And can everyone see this? I'll try to go full screen as well if it lets me. Okay, can everyone see these slides?
We're all good, Luke.
Great, thank you, Derek. So as a reminder to folks, I know Commissioner Biaggi mentioned it, Invest Southwest is of course a mayoral initiative under Mayor Lori Lightfoot to really marshal the resources of multiple city departments and partners across the city. So community organizations, private capital, individuals. We're really trying to pull together the resources and coordination across the city aimed at improvements in 12 specific corridors across 10 neighborhoods. You can see the map here on the right. Of course, Inglewood, Greater Inglewood, which includes, of course, Inglewood and West Inglewood, is one of those communities with a focus on the 63rd Street and Halsted corridor. So the point, really the core goal of Invest Southwest is to spur economic development. These corridors have been identified as those that have seen disinvestment in the past, but also show potential for targeted catalytic investment to really leverage future development. So with improvements today, we can see that come back to us multiple fold in the future. So again, the focus of how we do that, how do we address economic development in these corridors? It's about promoting mixed use development, whether that be commercial, residential, community uses. It's also about improving and addressing pedestrian activity. So activation of the pedestrian realm, and of course, coordinating with the Department of Transportation to do that. And then public spaces, so open spaces, plazas, opportunities for interaction and activity at the street level, which can in turn generate activity, commercial activity, and economic development. So where are we today? What has happened over the last year since Invest Southwest has been launched? Well, we've had a couple of early successes, and we're in process for more of that. So many of you may have seen the recent improvements to the Halsted Viaduct there at Halsted and 58th. This viaduct itself was in need of repair, and so again, coordinating across departments, CDOT was able to come in and help shore up the actual structure of this viaduct. And then that work necessitated a revival of artwork on the mural, or excuse me, on the abutments in the form of a mural, and on the span itself in the form of an application, a physical application. And so working with the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, DCASE, DPD helped to realize this vision. And so we really want to celebrate the work that the Inglewood Arts Collective did. Through a competitive process, they were selected to complete this work. And really, the bulk of it was done over one weekend, over Halloween. And so that's been a great addition, a great improvement to the area. And so that's, just one step towards what we talk about when we say the activation of this corridor. The next item I do want to highlight is, again, through a competitive process and in partnership with DCASE, an artist in residence for Inglewood has been selected. And so this individual, Eric Hotchkiss, has connections to Inglewood, deep connections here, lives here in Inglewood, I believe, and I believe his family is originally from Inglewood as well. He's worked, his art, his installations have appeared throughout the city. And so now he finally has the opportunity through this artist in residence program to help envision public realm improvements, activation of space, community-driven investment in public realm here in Inglewood. And so more to come from Eric. He was announced as the winner very recently. And so over the next couple of years, while that contract continues, he will be helping to lead really a collaborative community effort towards art and other public realm improvements in the area. So more to come on that, but excited to have him on board. And then finally, the thing we wanted to touch on as well today is the Inglewood Square request for proposals. So back over the course of the summer, the Department of Planning and Development led some visioning sessions with our monthly roundtable, neighborhood roundtable group, to establish some priorities, which also drew from past plans, the past quality of life plans, to establish a request for proposals. Some of you may know the land kind of surrounding the Whole Foods there in Inglewood Square is city-owned, including the historic firehouse, which has been left vacant for some time. And so this request for proposals is the city's way of soliciting interest in the development of that land. And so after a visioning period over last summer, we were able to release that request for proposals. And in November, we received 4 responses to those proposals. And so we are currently this week in the process of reviewing those with public presentations. We had 2 presentations, 2 of those 4 developer teams presented their ideas at our roundtable session last night. And so we had a great turnout for that, a lot of great questions and clarifications posed to those teams. We have 2 additional groups coming this Thursday. And so I do want to touch on that, how to get involved, how to get involved moving forward on Invest Southwest with the Department of Planning and Development. So again, this Thursday, January 28th from 4 to 6 p.m., we have a live virtual presentation from the final 2 developers. And it's the bulk of that agenda is really question and answer. It's an opportunity for them to present and for folks to ask questions of them, of their proposals. And then our next session would be February 18th. We'll come back having gathered all the input from these community sessions this week, the responses to these proposals, and present back to the roundtable. And again, just to clarify, when Invest Southwest kicked off last year, we established neighborhood roundtables in every community. And so the Inglewood Roundtable has met monthly. And so if you are interested in participating in that, please reach out to your alderman or contact us directly there, the email dpd@cityofchicago.org. We'd be happy to have you participate either again this week or in future sessions as we continue to push for redevelopment on the corridor. So I'll leave it there and happy to answer any questions as they arise. Thanks so much.
Luke, thank you so much, sir. Such important and pertinent information for the Inglewood community. And I would like to thank again Commander Hill, Commissioner Biaggi, and Luke Mitch, the new kid on the block, for sharing tonight. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I want to pause and just thank again the wonderful residents of the Inglewood community. do me a favor, hit your reaction button, give me a thumbs up, a clap, because we would not be here if it were not for you all. And so you all are the superstars. You all are the ones that we are serving. So everyone on the line right now, just on who have registered, we have 264 people on the town hall tonight. But that does not include our Facebook Live audience. So Facebook Live audience, hello, everybody. Let's welcome them. We also have Can TV, who is displaying and showing the town hall. And so I just want to welcome everyone and to thank again our Inglewood residents, the servants of Inglewood, those who have remained close to Inglewood, who have remained close. And I emphasize that. Thank you for keeping close. And again, to our Facebook Live audience, to Can TV, to all of those who are watching and sharing with us this evening, we welcome you and we thank you. I hear that Commissioner Dennis Deere is in the house. We welcome you. Thank you so much for joining. And again, to everyone who is here, so many and too numerous to name, but we just want to again welcome and thank our Inglewood residents, all of our servant leaders for joining us tonight for this important and auspicious virtual town hall meeting. So we're doing great on time, from my understanding. And so we have almost an hour of time for questions and answers. And so just to reiterate again, we are going to acknowledge those who click that little raise hand at the bottom of your screen on your Zoom tool bar. Right now I have 15 participants who raised their hand. I will call your name. We will unmute you. You will have the opportunity for one question. And so then you will be muted again. And so we will ask that you direct your question to the panel who you would like to answer your question, and we will be able to move along. And so at this time, and again, I'm sorry, I want to reiterate for those who are dialed by phone, if you hit *9, that will enable you to also raise your hand. So please raise your hand. For those who have questions, we are going into our community forum that I know so many of you all are excited about and ready to get started. So with that said, let's move it along. So my first raised hand on my list is Miss Vora Long Williams. And so we are going to unmute you. And then you are now permitted to pose your question, Vora.
With the Inglewood community. My question is, Mr. Moore made the statement, a clean community is a safe community. What do you have plans to cleaning Halsted, Ashland, Damon, Racine, and Western? Keeping those areas clean, our main streets.
I'm assuming that question is posed for me. So what we're doing, and we have been keeping them clean, but one of my ward superintendent has been working closely with the ward superintendents in the 6th ward and the 15th ward and the 16th ward. What they've been doing is working collaboratively, going into each of the wards so that they can work together instead of independently. And so one of the things that we do as well is make sure, especially in the alleys, that those people in streets and sand have their rakes and shovels on their trucks. And because sometimes we recognize they don't hit those, but if we don't get those calls that when they are out there that stuff is on the alley, then sometimes we don't know about it. But if we get those 311 calls, we'll get people out of that, because that's excess trash sometimes that comes out. But part of what I say a clean community is a safe community, is a working community, is not just on the onus of elected officials. You cannot legislate cleanliness. People have to have a desire to be clean. And so one of the things we've been asking the administration, and we'll continue to push, we want a clean campaign going on in this city to encourage people to keep their communities clean. And without that campaign, I think it'll be tough, because what I see is grown people that's throwing trash out more and throwing out of their windows and things like that more than anything. We'll do our part, our ward soups, streets and sand, but our residents have to do that part. And also what we've done was put garbage cans on corners to alleviate that. But in some cases, you see people with a garbage can standing right next to them, and they'll still throw trash on the street. So I just encourage people to do their part as we continue to do our part.
Thank you, Alderman. And thank you, Vora, for your question. We now have Janet. I will unmute you and give you Janet. Janet is the name is logged in the chat. You are now unmuted and you can pose your question, Janet.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, hi. I want to ask the alderman what is being done about the vacant buildings that are unattended by many property owners that are just a hazard in our community. And not just the vacant buildings, but vacant lots, even city-owned lots. There's many areas in our community where homeless people gather to burn garbage to keep warm. And this is a hazard for our community because they could cause a fire hazard, or the toxic fumes affect our families.
I could take that. I could take that one if you'd like. Thank you, Janet. This is Alderman Raymond Lopez. Vacant lots and vacant properties have been an issue, I think, for all of the aldermen in Englewood for quite some time, going back almost to about 2007, 2008, when the housing crisis first happened. What I can suggest is that if you reach out to us, we can address this issue with the Department of Buildings. If it's an abandoned building, we can make sure that it is properly secured, because especially now we know that the dangers that exist from individuals seeking shelter, trying to stay warm in an abandoned building are amplified, and that they will on occasion set a house on fire, not intentionally, but things will get out of control. And it just is a very dangerous situation on our blocks. The sooner we know, the sooner we can act. And with regards to the vacant lots as well, again, let us know so that we could address this immediately, not only with regards to the vacant lots, because sometimes they may be a city lot, but also if they are still privately owned, because then we can hold the owners accountable for what is going on their property. We see it not only with individuals trying to stay warm, but you see it with cars that are getting parked, you see with fly dumping that's happening. Help us by being our eyes and ears so that we can work better for you.
Thank you so much, Janet. And Alderman Lopez, thank you so much for answering her question. Stephanie Hairston, we will unmute you.
Unmute me. Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you crystal clear.
Okay.
How are you? Welcome this evening.
Good, thanks for having me. I'm Stephanie Hairston once again. I own a daycare center at 6512 South Halsted. I've been there 12 years in March. One of the questions that I want to ask is to Alderman Sawyer. Is 66 in Halsted your ward?
Yeah, I started 66 in Halsted.
Okay. I wanted to ask about the people that hangs in the parking lot where the liquor store is at. I have kids that come from that way, coming to school, to my daycare center. And some of the parents are kind of concerned when they come from that way, how they hang out and other things are going on in this lot due to the gas station being closed now. So this is where the people are going to hang at now. So I just want to know really, like, what is it that you plan, you know, are you planning something to do on that end, as far as the liquor store being located there?
The problem that we have with the people loitering in that area, primarily not exactly with the liquor store per se, but on that corner where the auto store is on 66th Place. The liquor store currently has security, and every time I've called the security, if there was a concern, the security jumps right on that and clears that lot immediately. But what they do is they move a couple of feet to the south and congregate just south of the former auto store right there. And we've been working with the 7th District. And matter of fact, we work with a couple of community organizations. I believe Rage is on the call and others. They're trying to provide alternatives for those individuals that are there. We've had job opportunity fairs. Well, they've had job opportunity fairs there. We've worked with them providing other alternatives. We make sure those lots are clean. But we have to provide additional opportunities for these individuals because these are people that are currently unemployed. Unfortunately, some may be unemployable for various reasons. And but if you call us, let us know what's going on. And again, I can reach out to the store owners the ones that do have security, they will push the people on, but all they're doing is moving them, quite honestly, down the street. And we'll continue to work with the 7th District Police to make sure that we can get those areas clean. And I think the commander might have some input on that as well.
Thanks, Alderman. You know what, ma'am? I appreciate you calling in and letting us know about that. I know it's an ongoing problem with the liquor store. And as the Alderman said, people are moving. We're just pushing people down. But I'll definitely take a closer look at it and see if it's something that we can do, because ultimately we really don't want to arrest people that are just standing around who are looking for an opportunity other than, we got to give something more to the community other than the arrest factor. If they're breaking the law, I'm all in favor of arresting them. But we as a community got to find some other ways to alleviate that problem. But I'll definitely take a look at it. And thanks for calling in.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your question, and Alderman Sawyer and Commander Hill, thank you for your response. Just to reiterate and emphasize one question, for those who have a question, please hit that little hand at the bottom of your toolbar. Just click it and it will place an order on my screen, and I will certainly, without a doubt, call you. We will unmute you and give you the opportunity to pose your one question. Also, again, for those who are on the phone, *9, just hit star and 9, and that will enable the raise hand function to be generated from your phone. So hit that raise hand button for those who have questions, and those who are dialing in, *9. Thank you so much. So next we have Denise Graham. Denise, you are now able to.
Hello?
Hello, Denise. How are you? Welcome to the Inglewood Town Hall meeting.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here. All your faces look wonderful. It's always good to look at leadership and see what you all are doing for us. We do truly appreciate all that you all do, considering the fact that we have so many problems here in our city, but it's really not a problem. We just need solutions. But my one question to this is regarding, I think, Mr. Lopez, or not Mr. Lopez, Mr. Mike Luke Mitch was talking about developer. My thing is, are they going, so we have these developers, we know we need profit for the city, but I was just thinking, are they going to have some kind of development that's going to help the loiterers, the people that need somewhere to go? The reality is we have few jobs for the youth, as well as some people that are on drugs. And so are those developers going to take that in consideration?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ms. Graham, for your question. I think that there are opportunities for addressing services like you mentioned within Inglewood. And I think think that there are some projects that have come to our attention. Oh, sorry, I'm seeing, can I still be heard? I see that
you're fine. You're fine, Luke.
Okay. I got a little alert. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I think we're aware of projects in the community that are aiming to address things like that. Not every project, of course, is aimed at that. And I think that the projects that we're looking at in Inglewood Square have a more mixed use commercial nature to them. But we are certainly interested in working with the aldermen to find opportunities for services for folks in need, returning citizens, things like that. And so, yeah, we hear that loud and clear, and we're trying to find the right opportunities for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. And thank you so much for your question, Denise. Next, we have Carl Griggs. Carl, you are unmuted. Welcome to the Inglewood Virtual Town Hall meeting. What's your question this evening? You can unmute yourself, sir. There you go.
All right, can everyone hear me now?
Yes, sir. How are you?
All right, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm fine, thank you for asking. I believe this question may be for Alderwoman Stephanie Coleman. Could you expound on the project that's happening at 63rd and Racine?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Griggs. That is a very exciting project. That is the Go Green on Racine, which is a community partnership of Iman, Rage, Teamwork Inglewood, and Eaglewood, where this collective group has not only joined together for a corner, retelling our narrative of what the corner store should look like. And that should be a healthy food market for our community with healthy options that are also affordable for our neighborhood. And we're working on the vacant, some know it as Granville T. Woods, those that are really from Inglewood, that generation, couple of generations above me knows it as Gershwin, but working on housing and workforce development for our returning citizens. Racine is that type of corridor where you work, live, and play. We've got 3 major parks: Sherman Park, Moran Park, Ogden Park. We've got beautiful schools on Racine and residential. So Racine is very near and dear to our heart. Actually, that really is, when we think of Invest Southwest, 63rd and Racine is the definition of what an investment on the south and west side should look like. And you can go online, you can Google Go Green on Racine. There's lots of information. You can contact our office and check out Iman, Rage, Teamwork Inglewood, and Eaglewood.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Alderman Coleman. Linda Austin. You are now have the capabilities to unmute yourself. Please unmute, Linda. Linda Austin, if you can just hit your unmute button, you have the capability to do so now. There you go. Linda? So we're going to move on. Linda, we can come back to you. Jamie Nesbitt Golden.
Hi, this question is for all of the aldermen, and Commissioner Hill. What's being done on a neighborhood level or a local level to sort of tamper down on the carjackings happening in the neighborhoods?
Commander, go ahead and take that for the start, please.
I appreciate that. Let me just let you know that Englewood as a whole has not been affected quite as much as some of the other districts in the city of Chicago. Within the last 28 days, we've only had 2 vehicular hijackings, but that still doesn't negate the fact that it's a problem and a growing problem within the city of Chicago. It's a couple of safety tips that you need to be aware of that I'll tell you. Number one, don't leave your cars unlocked. And, you know, if you have a newer car and you have a key fob, don't leave the key fob inside the vehicle, the extra key fob I'm talking about. You need to pay attention to your surroundings at all times. If you're unloading packages and you had a car running and your kids are in the car, please don't do that. Call ahead, call your family, let them know that you're in close proximity to the home so someone can look out for you. And when you're pumping gas, again, you've got to pay attention to your surroundings. We as citizens have got to do a little bit more to protect ourselves. And just so you know, the police department is currently deploying officers throughout the city to combat the vehicular hijackings that are going on. And we're partnering with our federal partners and IDOC and the juvenile justice system to try to combat this for repeat offenders. So in Englewood specifically, or Area 1, there's currently a vehicular hijacking task force that are focusing on those areas where cars are being dumped. And I'll also say this, if you see suspicious vehicles parked and you see young adults driving cars that you just know in your gut they shouldn't be driving, or if you're a little suspicious about it, then call 911 and so we can get a car out to just check it out. I'll definitely say that we want to stop the right people that's doing those crimes out there. We're not going to just throw a blanket over this entire thing and just stop everyone. But it's a couple of things as citizens that we can do. We can definitely say something about what's going on. If you see something, if you see a kid in your neighborhood and you know he doesn't have a car and you know his parents didn't buy him a car, then call the police so we can follow up on that, okay?
And Jamie, if I may add also, I just want to say in our ward, we've been installing traffic calming measures like traffic circles throughout West Englewood to make our community less inviting to individuals trying to steal cars in our community. We've been using Menu. We're actually in discussion with our Commissioner Biaggi about using TIF for other additional traffic circles throughout the rest of West Englewood to make it harder for individuals to think about using our community as a target.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And if I may add on, in addition to the tips that Commander Hill has given us, the work that Alderman Lopez, initiatives in West Englewood, we also started Operation Safe Pump, especially for those women and those seniors, our most vulnerable population, because women, we are multitaskers and sometimes we are not always alert. And every day for the next 30 days between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m., business leaders such as Mr. Early Walker and William Cates of Cates Detective Agency have adopted different gas stations in our area, in Inglewood, on State Street, on 75th Street, and some of those main corridors, because as Commander Hill said, 1 or 2 is too many. Especially, and women, we are the targets that our young people are targeting us at the gas stations or when we're at home and putting our groceries up. So I want to impress upon everyone to please take heed to the tips that Commander Hill just shared with us. And there's a list of those gas stations that are in all of our wards, not only in Inglewood, but in Chicago at large. But to please be careful because there's trauma past being held at gunpoint. So ladies, seniors, please be careful.
If I could add one more thing, for all of you residents that have Ring devices on your homes, if you notice or if you're informed that an incident occurs in front of your home, please share that information with the police department. Don't be afraid to share that information. And Alderwoman Coleman, you're doing a great job with that whole program with Case Detective Agency, and that's something to be commended for. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Such a pertinent topic, and definitely everyone, please be safe and follow the steps provided tonight. We're going to go back to Linda Austin. Linda? If you can unmute yourself. Okay, Linda's having some technical difficulties, so we'll continue moving on. Regina Atkins, you're now unmuted.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Regina Atkins. I am a community health worker at Cook County Hospital and Health Systems. And the question that I posed is, how can Cook County Inglewood Health Center at 1135 Southwest 69th Street connect with any efforts to assist African-American families in getting the most from their healthcare experience? Anybody or any organizations that would like to connect with me on these efforts, my phone number is 312-292-0736. Again, that number is or can be found in the question section. Alderman Lopez, you would like to answer my question. It looks like online I saw that Alderman Sawyer was my alderman, but I am open to working with any and all of the aldermen.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Derek, I just want to say thank you for that. And please, I would love to connect with you and talk about that in detail to figure out what we can do to expand the access to healthcare in the greater Englewood community. Please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to.
Outstanding. Thank you. Belinda Jackson, you are now able to unmute yourself and pose your question.
All right. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you and good evening, everybody. My question is to Commander Rodney Hill. Sir, this is a question that has been bothering me for a while. I'm a lifelong Englewood resident, and it is frightening to me to have somebody drive up next to me and I can't see who they are, period. Is it an ordinance about having tinted windows where you cannot see the driver and front seat passenger?
Yes, ma'am, it is. There are ordinances on the books for tinted windows, but more importantly than the tint, it's some of the driving habits that our citizens have developed in the last year with the pandemic and everything. If you've noticed, they're driving a lot faster. So I've encouraged my officers to do more traffic stops. With them doing the traffic stops, they'll encounter vehicles with owners of vehicles with tinted windows, and they'll give them citations accordingly. They do have the discretion to give the owners a ticket or not. But more importantly, from a safety standpoint that you're speaking of, it's definitely an ordinance. It can be enforced, but there are other things that need to go along with that traffic stop other than the tinted windows. I'm more concerned about the speed in which our citizens are driving at this rate. I notice traffic violators all the time when I'm going into work and when I'm just driving around the city. So we're definitely doing more traffic stops, and we're encouraging each watch, first watch, second watch, and third watch, which is around the clock, to do more traffic stops to keep the citizens safe, to include the tinted windows.
Thank you so much. Next we have, oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely. Go ahead, Alderman Lopez.
Sorry. I also want to just comment and say that I have noticed an increase in the tinting, not just in Greater Englewood, but in other parts of the city that I represent. It's very dangerous and it's very unsettling when you have a car that has jet black limo tints, not only on the side windows, the rear window, but now on the windshield as well. And I know I, for one, like full enforcement, and am currently looking at introducing an ordinance to make it illegal to even have anything remotely less than manufactured approved tinting on a car in the city of Chicago.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, we have Asia Butler. Asia, you are allowed to speak. Please feel free to unmute yourself and pose your question.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you to all the aldermen who are so committed to work in unison for the greater Englewood community. So I really appreciate you guys doing this virtually. My question is really around an initiative that we're working with our Cook County Treasurer on in terms of the taxes and the exemptions for seniors and some of the money that is owed to them or to get them off the tax sales list. And so mine is really more of a yes or no question of how can we work with each of your offices, strategically to really assist some of the residents around the Black Houses Matter initiative.
Let me start by saying that thank you, Aisha, and thank you for hosting Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. I think it was on last week regarding this issue, and give a shout out to Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas for reaching out to our office. So as she give us these list of names, one of the things at least I've been doing is trying to, much as I can, contact these people individually using my staff and volunteers so that one, we can make people aware of if their house is on the sale list or if they have some refunds coming. Sometimes, as you know, that's challenging. And so we may have to, as I was talking with Maria Pappas, work with other organizations. So I've teamed up with Melinda Kelly at the Chatham Business Association, and she's hired some young people to help with this initiative for us so we can target and reach more people and let them know about both their exemptions, both about if their home is on the tax sale list, and also if they have any refunds coming. So that's a great question, Aisha, and I think it'll help for other organizations like yourself to do what you did to host these, to let more and more people know about it and make them aware of the opportunities out there. Thank you for that question, Aisha.
Thank you so much. Tara Madison, feel free to unmute yourself and pose your question. Tara, you can unmute yourself. Okay, having a little technical difficulties. We'll come back to you, Tara. We're gonna go to Joyce Randall. Joyce, you're allowed to talk.
Hi.
Hi, Joyce.
I really appreciate everyone being here. This is really awesome. So my question, first of all, thank you for what the commander said. I have absolutely noticed the violent, like how crazy people are driving, like even just going through red lights. So please continue to make that a huge priority. And so my question is for you as well. There's a lot of research that shows that when you have jobs like in schools and police, that often you get to experience the worst of people, right? When people are frustrated and angry and all those things. And it becomes really easy to lose sight of a person's humanity and lose your empathy and compassion for them. So I'm wondering, what's your plan for helping police connect to the people they serve, helping them understand systemic oppression and racism and the role that the police has historically had in that?
Let me begin by saying that I was born and raised in the city of Chicago, and I encourage all my officers to treat people the way that they want to be treated. I stand for nothing but professionalism and treating people with respect, dignity, and showing compassion for all people. I don't think officers, I will say that historically officers will develop a crassness over the years, but I think that the police department is doing a lot with the consent decree to get the training for officers to avoid falling into that trap I think supervision is the key to avoid some of those pitfalls as well. I got a great group of supervisors in the 7th District and throughout the city of Chicago that I've worked with. And I think officers generally they want to be treated the exact same way that everyone does in the city. They want to be respected. They want to know that they're safe in their city. They want to know that people view them as something more than an instrument for racism. So I can say personally that as a Black commander in the city of Chicago, that I'm doing everything possible to change that that stereotype that the police officers are getting. So that's what we're working to do. I think the police department is doing a great job with changing that stereotype. And if there's anything that you encounter as a citizen that you feel is unnecessary or you were treated unfairly, don't hesitate to give my office a call and we'll straighten that out right away. If you want to come in and just speak with officers and just have a little say, just to meet officers, because we got a great CAPS program in the 7th District. We're doing great things, and I encourage you to become a part of that. And you'll just get an opportunity to see some of the good things that we're doing in Inglewood. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your question. We're going to go back to Tara Madison. Tara, you can unmute yourself now. Okay. Tara's still having issues with her technology, so we're going to move on. Larry Richard, you are now allowed to unmute yourself, Larry.
Yes, I just did.
Excellent. Welcome.
I'm a lifelong resident of Englewood as well. And, you know, going back last year, I met David Brown and the mayor over at the 7th District. And I said to them then that the 7th District changes commanders like you change underwear. Okay? There are too many commanders. The tenure there is only about a little over a year. That's one of the problems. The other problem is all of the elected officials really need to clamp down and start taking a stronger approach to crime, okay? Because we already know all of the things that are wrong in the community. You're not going to combat all of that. I have worked long enough with the police department to where maybe 2 or 3 of them generations have retired. And I've heard the same thing. If we didn't get in this situation overnight, we're not going to get out of it overnight. That goes back 30, 40 years you've been saying that. It's time to take bold action because all the development that you want to try to do, that means nothing if people don't feel safe and secure. Safety comes first. And the lady, you're absolutely right in terms of the streets. People don't even want to drive in the city of Chicago anymore, particularly on the south side. Every other car is torn up, new cars, hit and run accidents, you name it. So to all of the elected officials, you have to stop making excuses for these kids. Yes, they're 15 years old, but guess what? They're not doing what a typical 15-year-old will do. Yet and still, they get more help than the ones that have not been in trouble, because that is who you're trying to save. Go back, just as you have tier 1, tier 2 with mitigations with COVID and all of that, you got to do the same thing and prioritize the crimes that these kids are doing and punish them appropriately. You're not going to get anywhere if you continue to let this happen on the south side. We're not on the south side, in the city of Chicago, okay? And technology, the police department need to invest more in technology. It makes no sense that these cars don't have plate readers on it. It makes no sense that we still are able to, the Secretary of State is not notifying the insurance company, the insurance company is not notifying the Secretary of State that this car is uninsured.
Sure.
Too many uninsured drivers, too much crime. We change police commanders too much in the 7th District, and aldermen to everyone. Get tougher, okay? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Larry.
Derek,
So-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephanie. Or
This-
who's that? I'm sorry.
Jeanette. So first and foremost, let's have a real conversation. We've been talking about the conditions that happen in our community for years. That's us making a living wage. That's making sure young people have access to all these wonderful programs and things that we have in the community. And it's making sure that we take care of them. Part of the problem is the police are answering to things they have no business answering to. So that's problem number one, which is how we got in this situation. And it's not about being tough on young people. It's about making sure they have access. I represent the 20th Ward in Englewood as a part, but there are 5 other neighborhoods that I represent. And what I realize is we don't even know the gems that we have in our communities. There are plenty of community organizations, churches, violence prevention, but the problem is we're not all working together to address what is actually going on in our community. So think about post-COVID. We're actually in 2 pandemics, and Alderwoman Coleman talked about it early. Racism, COVID-19, and we could honestly see the disparities that happen in our community. You see them even on the heightened list. We're not talking about that there are thousands of young people that never logged in to remote learning. We're not talking about that. We're talking about sending them back in spaces where they might get sick or giving people the options. We're not talking about people not working. And if we're all being honest, where are the young people at on this call? Because I don't see any. I don't see many. And so at the end of the day, it's easy to blame the victim. But these young people, I'm 45. These young people don't have the things I had. Like a lot of you on the phone, I went to social center and I went to after school. Once I got home at 7 o'clock, I was too tired to do anything but eat and go to sleep. Those are not the opportunities that we afford young people, but we're so quick to say that they are the problem. Now, this generation they lost has been neglected, and that's on us. And so where's our ownership is one. And we got to get back to community. We used to tell when we saw young people doing something wrong, we didn't turn a blind eye. We checked them. And I get we scared now, but we got to get to a place where that we're past that. And so it's not us being tougher, because I'm not okay with sending young people to jail for one offense. They don't do that in other communities. You think about the punishments of folks. You look at this judicial system. It doesn't treat young people in our community right. There's a man now spending life in jail for $9 worth of stuff he stole. We're okay with that, but that doesn't happen in other communities, only ours. And so I don't agree with being tougher. I agree with us wrapping our arms around our community, because that's what we used to. I'll stop at this. I was a 15-year-old teen mother. By the time I was 19, I had 3 kids. If it wasn't for my mother, my school community, and the community at whole, I would not be in this space. Those people helped push me where I needed to be. And every time that I wanted to go down the wrong road, there was somebody to help me. We ain't listening to young people. We don't bring them to the table. We have these great ideas of what we think they need. We don't. A lot of our young people now are depressed. Do we know how many young people have committed suicide during COVID? No, you don't know. There have been plenty. You know how many young people have died of COVID? No, because we too busy talking about my safety, my. We got to get out of my. We got to go back to we. There are people in our community. They are walking museums. They are walking knowledge. There are elders that we don't even listen to. I got them at the table all the time, because we are going to continue to repeat history unless we learn from it and we actually talk about it and adhere to it.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman Taylor. Thank you. I see some snaps on my screen. Michele Rashad, you are now unmuted and allowed to talk and pose your question.
Peace and blessings to everyone on this call. Thank you to the Inglewood Alderwomen and Aldermen for your leadership. Again, I'm Michele Rashad. I'm born and raised in West Englewood, graduate of Linwood Math and Science Academy, and I currently serve as the Executive Director of Imagine Inglewood, which provides free year-round youth programming that creates safe and fun learning environments for youth to become our local and global leader. IEI can only serve so many children. In fact, we serve about 75 youth per year who come from each of the wards of the aldermen and alderwomen who are represented here today. But our 4 programming are currently at capacity, especially now during this pandemic where families have a greater need for e-learning support, food, and essential items. there's just not enough space and quality programming to support and nurture the positive youth development in our community. So when we talk about creating a safer community and we talk about new development in Englewood and West Englewood, I want to ask you all, and Alderwoman Taylor just kind of spoke about this. What specific investment are each of you making or making together to create youth opportunities and investing in youth development to ensure our children have trauma-informed care, accessible resources, and quality out-of-school time programming that supports their success as future leaders, business owners, and engaged residents of the greater Englewood community?
I'll go ahead and start. Thank you for that question. First and foremost, one of the things from an investment standpoint, one of the things that I saw, and let's start by saying, yeah, this pandemic is a monster, but without this pandemic, one of the things that I saw and what I did in the Englewood community, when I first got in office, got with my youth, talked to them. One of the things they talked about, our young men, is improving Ogden Park. And part of that improvement at Ogden Park is they wanted not only a football field where they can play, a track field where they can come exercise. And when you do exercise, and that helps with mental health. And I got with the former administration, but also this administration saw it through so that we can build a new football field. And it was over about close to $5 million investment in Ogden Park, so that we can put those activities in a new football field with lights, a track field where families can come together and run in our community. The other part is that as an alderman, making sure that our youth through our principals, which I have a great relationship with all my principals and a connection with them to help connect them to the different organizations, whether it's St. Sabina here in the Auburn Gresham area, but they also serve Englewood residents, but also with some of the other organizations like Teamwork Englewood, like Imagine Englewood, if these places where you all only can do so many people, but between all of our organizations can serve as many people as possible. And so that's a collective effort here, as well as putting money in the budget, definitely for after school, as an alderman, and voting for a budget to put into jobs and employment for our youth. And so those are some of the things that I know I focused on, as well as my colleagues, and getting their votes on some of that money in the budget to make sure our youth have these services.
If I may add to that, Derek,
Absolutely.
One of the issues that all of Greater Englewood continues to struggle with is that sometimes it's not necessarily a lack of investment or a lack of resources, but it's a lack of the right people getting the right resources. And I know my colleagues and I have routinely discussed this with agencies like the Department of Family and Support Services, which has a lot of delegate agencies that work and partner in our neighborhoods. But the question that we've always had is, are they really serving our community? Or are they just checking off a zip code so that they could get access to tens of hundreds of $1,000s of grant money, saying that they are working for our neighborhoods? We know that Imagine Englewood, If, Teamwork Englewood, Rage, all these groups are out here. But we also know that we have organizations that will come to an application and check off on the box that I've served 60636, that I've served 60621, because they interacted with one individual, two individuals in a year. And they will claim that that allows them to be representative of our community's interests and have access to our grant dollars that are meant to help organizations like those and others throughout the legitimate Greater Englewood community. So we have always been advocating that there should be better metrics involved to ensure that our true organizations get the dollars meant for our true residents.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Barbara Muse, you are now unmuted and allowed to pose your question. Actually, Barbara, you have to unmute yourself. You're allowed to, you have capabilities to unmute. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the meeting. I enjoyed it, listened to everything. But this is for the commander of the 7th District. I live off of 65th and Yale, and all the drug dealers come off of the expressway, pop their drugs right here at 65th and Yale. We have 4 shootings. They're chasing each other. What are we going to do about that?
Thank you for calling in, Ms. Muse. We're aware of it. We got a couple of different things going on in that area. Number one, we're currently focusing in on areas with high narcotics, shootings, and just overall violence. That area that you're speaking of, we got a couple of outside things going on with some partners that are targeting that area. So it's my hope that you'll see those issues diminish in the near future. We're definitely working hard to get those things under control. It's just one of those things, unfortunately, that it's a constant battle with drugs in our communities. But as many of the aldermen and alderwomen spoke of, it's a community thing. I'll go back to saying again, if you just pick up the phone and give us a buzz, we'll get some officers over there right away if you see something. If you got some valuable information, please share it with us. Please get involved in your CAPS, in our CAPS program, and relay that information along accordingly. Give our CAPS office a call so you can apply via 311, or you can use 311. You can file a complaint on the drug sales or anything else for that matter via 311, and we'll follow up with that. And it'll have a tracking number, and then that way you'll be able to see exactly what was done over a period of time. I'm going to encourage you to give my office a call and give me whatever information that you do have at 312-747-8230, I do believe is the number. I got too many telephone numbers. I'll have it posted, the exact number, but you can reach our district on Facebook at 7th District Chicago Police Department or Chicago CAPS 07 on Twitter. So we're working on it. Just give us that information and I'll definitely do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. Patricia Franco, you are now allowed to speak. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Patricia, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I wanted to thank you in advance for allowing me to participate. This is my first town hall meeting, and I really appreciate it.
Outstanding, great.
My alderman is Alderman Raymond Lopez, and I just wanted to commend him on all the hard work that he has done through our community. I come from, I think it's called Brighton Park, but I moved recently to Gage Park, which is 55th and Rockwell. I think that's Gage Park. If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry about that, but I was told that I was by Gage Park. So my issues and my concerns and my questions are for Commander Rodney Hill and Alderman Raymond Lopez.
No, Patricia, one question. So
okay.
Pick the one you want most.
Oh, okay, that's how it works? Okay. Yeah. So ever since I moved to the community, they have been breaking into cars, and twice on mine for the past 3 months. And they've been stealing packages from the houses. I guess the problem is not enough lighting. And I remember having a grammar school at one corner and having a high school, Gage Park High School, at the other corner. There used to be a camera at the corner pole on the street, but it was removed for some reason. And my question is to Alderman Raymond Lopez and to the commander, is there anything that I can do to get more police patrolling around the area? Because I am disabled and I am concerned about that. That's my main question.
I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. You left my neighborhood and went to the other end of my ward, but that's okay. We will reach out to you to address this. I know this is the Englewood Town Hall, but we take that very seriously. And I believe you registered online, and I'll have someone from my staff reach out to you, or you can call us at 773-823-1523. I forgot my own phone number. Don't call it. You're in the 8th District as well, so we will also let the commander of the 8th District know as well. But thank you for joining us and learning about your neighboring neighborhood of Greater Englewood.
Thank you. Kendall Granberry, you are now allowed to speak. Feel free to unmute yourself, Kendall.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, perfectly.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm kind of a newer resident. I just moved to Inglewood towards the end of September. I am also maybe one of the younger people, I guess, speaking. I will turn 31 at the end of the month. So I do want to just uplift what Jeanette said, Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor said about like the lack of young people being on this call. That's one reason I decided to join. My question is just about 311 service requests. The commissioner, Biaggi, I believe, mentioned earlier, like, you know, that's a great way to have residents, to get resident input, given that that's information that's used to then make kind of policy decisions and other things. But my question is just around what happens, you know, what are residents' options when those things aren't turned around in the time that they've been communicated that they would be completed? I submitted requests personally at the end of October and was told that they'd be completed in 21 days for our building, which is a 2-unit apartment, but there's only 1 trash can and no recycling bins. And so my question is just, you know, what recourse do we have, you know, in terms of like making sure that we're getting the resources that we need to just take care of trash and refuse around our property, the house. Given that so many people have obviously talked about, you know, the importance of, you know, trash on the streets and things like that. And so I want to put it to the aldermen, are any of you currently working on ordinances that would, you know, require the city to respond to these requests, specifically in economically depressed areas within a set period of time? I'd be very interested in hearing more about that.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you. I think I can help a little bit, Derek. Thank you for that call. When you call 311, I think it's important, I think all of the aldermen on the line would agree. We want you and encourage you to call 311 for the necessity of tracking calls. When you call 311 and make your request, I want you to do a couple of things. One, make sure you get your service request number. It's a long, maybe I think a 10-digit number that they'll give you that evidences what you're asking for. For example, if you ask for a garbage can, additional garbage can, they're going to put in a request. They're going to generate a number. Ask them for your service request number. If your request has not been granted, call whoever your alderman is, one of us and one of the 5 of us. With that number, we can then go and track your request, when you made it, who it was referred to, and what's the status of your claim. Then we can help you. For example, with garbage cans, I tell people to call right away. Call 311, get your service request number, call us back with that number. I'll immediately give it to my ward superintendent, because they have to, that's one of those things that they have to check off. They'll get you your garbage can in a matter of days. And I'm pretty sure that's same for each one of my colleagues as well. But in general, use the 311 system. It is very effective, and it holds people accountable to their respective positions. If they're not doing their job, we can direct and find out who is responsible for completing that task and why they weren't doing it. And we can jump on them to make sure that they did that task in a timely manner. So if you do that, I think that it will help you, and it'll help us help you in your request.
Thank you much. Carlyle, and forgive me if I am mispronouncing your name, I hope I'm not. Carlyle Pittman, you are now able to unmute yourself and pose your question. Carlyle?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening. This is Carlyle Pittman. I am the executive director of Good Kids Mass City Inglewood. It's a violence prevention youth-led organization focused on giving young people the skills and resources they need to fight for change in their communities. I heard a lot of the comments I want to make already given. Thank you, Alderman Jeanette Taylor, for your response as well. I am a long time in West Englewood born and raised individual myself. I'm a father of 4 boys that I'm raising in the community. I do not agree with harsher disciplines and arresting 15-year-olds and things like I'm hearing on this call. Because at 15 years old, if someone had that same mindset about myself, I would not be where I am today. But I just want to add in that through everything that's been happening with COVID and pre-COVID, we've been fighting for different services for youth to combat violence in the community, for higher quality of education, fighting for, healthier food options, but also just dealing with the different traumas and normalization of trauma and undiagnosed PTSD that these young people are walking around with. And young people who are leading these trainings themselves and educating their peers themselves. One of the things we notice is that there is a lot of abandoned spaces. When we talk about trauma, there's mental, there's physical, but there's also just visually what the young people are seeing, right? Seeing these vacant and abandoned spaces and wondering, is there any appetite to turn any of these spaces into youth space? For example, the building that used to be a clinic on 55th and Damon, been wondering for a while what's being done with the building and other spaces like it, and how can we turn some of these spaces into productive youth spaces or spaces for the community to have a lot of these services in-housed in the community. And just wonder if any alderman has a response for that. And if there are things going on, is there a way that myself or organization can get involved in any of the efforts?
Thank you.
So I can take that, that 5-part one singular question, because that is in my ward. That former medical clinic is actually owned by the grocery store right across the street. But what we also know is that in my ward and in many of my colleagues' wards as well, we have a lot of vacant property. We have a lot of vacant space, whether it's lots, buildings, you name it. Many of those buildings are in complete disrepair. It would cost roughly $30,000 to $50,000 to bring them up to where they would be able to be safe so that people can be in them, because we know that we have scrappers that have completely gone through many of those properties. We are working collectively as a city council to try and maximize these spaces. Just earlier today, Alderman Beal had a proposal to turn one of these buildings into a community space in West Englewood by 64th and Honorary. We did something very similar with the Peace Campus in iGrow Chicago, and we're always looking for ways to be innovative. The problem is allocating the dollars to get to that point, but I can probably say that all of us share the same commitment to making things safer and providing options, not only in the rehabbing, but in the utilization of those properties for our youth.
Thank you so much. So we are nearing our time, but we do have a couple of minutes for a couple more questions. Reverend Jeanette Harbin, you are allowed to talk. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. This is amazing, because I'm sitting here and listening to just the last caller and listening to Jeanette Taylor. And my question, which I had more than one, was, is there anybody on this call going to be doing anything with the building, the school that was right there on 62nd and Racine? Because somebody asked me to look into it and we can work something in it, but I can't do anything. And I'm willing to work with young people. I'm a educator and I can do a whole lot of things. So I'm feeling people on this call that want to help the youth. And I was one of the original founders with Gene Hill at Imagine Inglewood If. I'm Reverend Jeanette Harbin. But it's amazing that we really don't know what's going on in the community. And I love these calls. This is not my first call. I've been to the police station and everywhere else. But can anybody answer the call? The Gershwin, I believe, school. Is anything being done with that right now?
I knew it was gonna come out. See, that's a true Inglewood resident. That when Gershwin came out, Pastor Harbin, this is Stephanie Coleman. God bless you, woman of God. It was announced or asked earlier, what is happening on 63rd and Racine? And I know that Rage, Iman, Teamwork Inglewood, as well as E.G. Wood is on this line. that collective group have joined forces, and they are known as the Go Green on Racine. And they have some amazing plans for that school building, for youth services, wraparound services, housing, addressing recidivism and our returning citizens and those that with home housing insecurities. So Pastor Harbin, I will connect you with them directly in the church so you all can be a part of that narrative. There has been some outreach this summer. As a matter of fact, the group just received rites of passage to that building. So this just happened, I believe, this week. So you will definitely be receiving more information. I know that you follow our newsletter. I think that's how you got the information about today, but I will directly connect you in the ministry with that group so you can get to know the Go Green on Racine team.
Thank you, Reverend Harbin, and thank you, Alderman Coleman. So we are nearing our time. And so to be respectful of everyone's evening, we are going to close our forum. But these questions, thank you so much to everyone who posed their questions. These questions are drawing us closer. So thank you, and thank you. So as we near the last 4 minutes of our first virtual Inglewood Town Hall meeting, we want to hand it back to the Inglewood Five for 1 minute remarks, closing remarks, to share regarding this evening and to address any pertinent issues that you want to bring up in this closing 1 minute session. So we're going to go to the same order. Alderman Coleman, will you please kick us off on our closing remarks? Thank you so much.
The 16th Ward is anxiously awaiting your questions, your comments, your concerns, whatever city service requests. We can be reached at 773-306-1981. Check us out at www.16thward.org. Thank you to my colleagues. This is the Inglewood I know and love. This is us coming together. Inglewood is rising, but we can only do it together. Thank you to our all-stars, our 200, and I think the number was up to over 276 participants. We wouldn't be here and we could not serve without you. God bless you all and thank you.
Alderwoman Taylor.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time out to get on this call. I felt like we had a really strong meeting, but not a long meeting, and so I'm appreciative of that. What I'll say in closing is, remember, our communities can't change without us. And so we don't want any of these changes to happen unless you all at the table. And that takes time. We're used to fighting against each other. We're not used to working together. And that's work for other folks. That cannot work for us. I'm always open. My office number is 773-966-5336. My cell number is 773-620-9055. That is my personal cell number. You can text or call me. I only ask that after 9 o'clock, unless you're dead or on fire, please let me rest. You all have a great evening. I appreciate you all spending this time with us.
Thank you. Alderman Moore.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank all of you who took the time out to join us. I want to thank, again, my team here, my colleagues, and it is a team effort in us working together in Inglewood. Each and every one of your leaderships, Alderman Stephanie Coleman's vision, and I'm just so excited to continue to work with each of my colleagues. I will also say we have to become like Commissioner Gia Biaggi. She gives an excellent presentation, so therefore she don't get any questions. But that's what happens when you get an excellent presentation. And I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us here tonight. And with that said, because it seemed like we had some people from outside of Inglewood on here as well, which is fine. My ward boundaries are 63rd on the north is the general boundary, 63rd on the north to 83rd on the south. Lafayette, Batadan, Ryan on the east, all the way over to Central Park past Kesey. And my community areas are Inglewood, West Chatham, and Auburn Gresham. My office number is 773-783-3672. Again, that number is 773-783-3672. And if you don't remember anything else I say, you can always call my office and get that information. My website is alderman@17ward.com. Again, that's alderman@17ward.com. And also Facebook page, Alderman David Moore, places where we constantly put information. Also, we put out a newsletter. If we do not have your email, call that number, 773-783-3672, and let us have your email address so you can get our newsletters as well as your phone number so you can get our robocalls about these community meetings and different things that we do. So I appreciate you all again for joining us. And again, I appreciate our entire panel, Commander Rodney Hill, WIU, Leathernecks all the way, and Commissioner Gia Biaggi, and Representative for Planning and Development. God bless you. And to our moderator, Derek, you did a marvelous job. I appreciate you so much. God bless you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Moore, that was the longest minute in history.
Oh, I thought we had 3 minutes again.
1 minute, sir. 1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute.
That was the church minute.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Coleman. I'm a deacon. That was a church minute.
We'll end it with humor. But I do want to thank everyone for being on the call. Derek, thank you for doing a wonderful job moderating us. And thank you to all who participated. You've once again shown Chicago how to do it. So thank you. Thank you to my husband, Hugo, for working Zoom for us, because without him, none of us would be on this call right now. And if anyone needs any help from the 15th Ward, every level of social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or the good old telephone, 773-823-1539. Yes, I remembered it this time. We're here to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Alderman Sawyer.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you everyone that's on the call. I really want to thank my colleagues. Everybody sees my dog Ted just couldn't wait before it's over. But again, thank you all for the collaboration. Thank all the callers for their questions. If you need to reach me, please call our office at 773-635-0006, or to get our weekly news e-blast, register with us at 6ward.com. That's the number 6, WARD.com, and put in your information and you'll get our weekly e-blast. We do have COVID testing at our office every Tuesday and Friday. COVID testing, free testing there every Tuesday and Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you to the Inglewood Five. Thank you to all of our guests, all of our residents that have carved out time of their busy schedule. It shows how much we all love Inglewood. Thank you to our speakers, Commander Hill, Commissioner Biaggi, and Luke Mitch. Thank you to all, again, the residents who have joined this call. To our Facebook Live audience, thank you. To our CAN TV audience, thank you. To all of those who dialed on the phone, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, continue to see the light, continue to be the light, and do like grandmother said, keep close. Have a wonderful evening. Blessings to each of you. Good night.